And now I am going to try to get through all 5 boroughs in New York City and telling you all the amazing reasons you should come visit us. So first, we'll start with my hometown, the Bronx. It's the northernmost borough and home to about 1.4 million residents and over 50 neighborhoods. It's the birthplace of hip hop, and it's home to the New York Yankees. And films such as A Bronx Tale and small screen hits like Bugs Bunny were filmed and recorded in the Bronx. And you may know a few Bronxites. Actress and singer Jennifer Lopez is from the Bronx, as is actress Kerry Washington and the late comedian George Carlin. And the Bronx has just so many stories to tell, but I want to show this video to introduce you to the Bronx Beer Brothers that are over in Belmont.
My name is Anthony Ramirez II, and I'm co-owner at the Bronx Beer Hall.
My name is Paul Ramirez, and I'm also a co-owner at the Bronx Beer Hall. The Bronx Beer Hall is located in the heart of the Bronx's Little Italy, inside of the Arthur Avenue retail market. I think this slowdown has made people look for a connection in different ways from different folks.
I think what we saw was a respect for what people do on a day-to-day basis that you normally take for granted. If anything, it strengthened the bonds within the community. You know, we come from a large Puerto Rican family, and my father set up his piano on his porch and did like pandemic concerts, playing hits and things like that. Plus, who doesn't want to see a 60-year-old guy play Post Malone on a piano? You know, unfortunately, we had to lay off our staff. Paul and I, basically, right back where we started with the beer hall, we became bartenders, /owners, /managers, /runners, all over again.
You know, beer halls are inherently communal spaces. With 6 feet between one another, I think we're still achieving that.
A great quick story by Anthony and Paul, and I'll take you through a quick tour of the Bronx, starting with the South Bronx. So over in Yankee Stadium, the home of the New York Yankees and the Major League Soccer's New York City Football Club. Yankee Stadium is not currently open, but it's a great place to go snap some pictures before taking a walk on the Grand Concourse. On the Grand Concourse, which is a major Bronx thoroughfare with extravagant Art Deco facades, you can find the Bronx Museum of Arts. The Bronx Museum of Arts is a donation-based museum, and currently they're showing an exhibition by New York City-based artist Sanford Biggers. The exhibition is Code Switch, and it dives into African-American culture via some 50 quilt-based pieces. And before you head home from there, you can grab a quick bite to eat on a patio deck at Suyoi Gastrofusion or Hungry Bird. One of my favorite things to do during the pandemic is to enjoy the Bronx River Greenway. The Greenway space, as some of it was built on a former concrete plant, but they're about 20 miles in place. And there are a variety of things you can do. There is a kayak and canoe launch, as seen in this picture here, but also extensive paths for walking, bicycling, and rollerblading. I've been doing a lot of bicycling on the Greenway, and I can attest that the views from it are absolutely spectacular. The Bronx Zoo, which is New York City's biggest zoo, is reopened on July 24th with the Central Park Zoo and the Queens Zoo as well. They're currently showing outdoor exhibitions and grounds. So, you should book in advance, and they are currently doing a Halloween themed special for this month. Not too far from the zoo is Arthur Avenue, where those Bronx Beer Bros do work and play. And so that's really where we call the real Little Italy in New York City, at least us Bronxites do. It's where you can go to grab a great Italian meal. Right now, the handful of blocks have been transformed on Thursday through Sunday to an outdoor piazza with some alfresco dining. Lots of New Yorkers are really taking advantage of that. Also in the Bronx, the South Bronx, is the Opera House Hotel, which is the former Bronx Opera House that's been renovated. So you can stay at the Bronx Opera House Hotel and stay in the same place that hosted performances by Harry Houdini, the Marx Brothers, and John and Lionel Barrymore. The New York Botanical Garden is also located in the Bronx, and they just reopened their grounds a couple months ago. From what I've heard from them, they opened to a crowded place. You know, as crowded as it gets, it sits on several acres, and is all very well socially distanced. But they have had many visitors this summer with lots of family-friendly activities for people to enjoy. One of my favorite places in the Bronx is City Island. City Island feels like no other place in New York City. It's a Bronx fishing village full of yacht clubs and waterfront restaurants. It's really laid back and has fresh seafood dining and even some things like scuba diving that you wouldn't necessarily think that you could get into in New York City. And you can also stop and get some food at the very popular seafood spots like the City Island Lobster House, the Original Crab Shanty, and Sammy's Fish Box. Pelham Bay Park is New York City's largest park. That may be a surprise for some who think Central Park is. Central Park is actually our 5th largest park, but Pelham Bay Park is the #1. It holds an 18-hole golf course, a mini golf course, tennis courts, and the Thomas Pell Wildlife Refuge and Sanctuary. It's also home to Orchard Beach, also known as the Bronx Riviera, which is the sole stretch of sand in the Bronx with views of Long Island Sound and City Island. And as you can see in the picture, you can even visit the Bronx Equestrian Center, which offers English and Western riding lessons, group trail rides, and pony rides for children. And so that was a quick tour of the Bronx, and we'll head over to Brooklyn, where my father's family is from. Brooklyn is home to over 2.5 million residents. There are more than 70 neighborhoods in Brooklyn. You can see the pro basketball and hockey at the Barclays Center and enjoy great scenic views from the Brooklyn Heights Promenade. Note that some popular films like The Godfather and Sophie's Choice and television show Boardwalk Empire were filmed in Brooklyn. And Brooklynites include rapper Jay-Z, the late artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, and singer and actress Barbara Streisand. And then we'll take a quick trip to the Little Caribbean neighborhood in Flatbush Avenue.
My name is Shelley Worrell, and I'm the founder of Little Caribbean NYC. It's a neighborhood in central Brooklyn, home to a huge concentration of Caribbean culture, whether it's food, small business, and just people. And I started to ask, why is there not a Little Caribbean? I think our community has been hard hit. At one point, my zip code, it had one of the highest rates of COVID-19. And then it occurred to me that that meant that the Caribbean community were being disproportionately affected. But on the flip side, I personally have been able to be involved in some really great efforts to support the community. The City of New York reached out for us to distribute 40,000 masks to small businesses. So we were able to get that done within a week so that they could be safe and keep our community safe. So it's been really wonderful just to see how the community has corralled together to support each other.
Job Shelley's doing over in Flatbush. We'll start out in Brooklyn with the Crown Heights and Prospect Park. We'll start in the 52-acre Brooklyn Botanic Garden, which is requiring advanced timed entry to visit. The Brooklyn Botanical Garden has more than 18,000 kinds of plants from around the world. And then after visiting the garden, you can take a loop in Prospect Park, where the garden is actually located. And there's also a few steps from the Prospect Park Zoo, which is also asking for reservations to be made in advance. Dumbo is another very popular neighborhood in Brooklyn, not named after the flying elephant, but it is an acronym for Down Under the Manhattan Bridge Overpass. That's Dumbo. And you can stroll through Dumbo's cobblestone streets and make your way up to Brooklyn Bridge Park, where you can enjoy lots of views of Lower Manhattan, and also check out some art that we have on the waterfront. With the Public Art Fund has installed a new exhibition by Davina Simo called Reverberation. And after taking in that art, you can go stop at the world famous Grimaldi's for thin crust coal-fired pizza, or take a stop into the newly opened Time Out Market, which offers a curated lineup of food purveyors and rooftop views of the East River in Manhattan. You can also enjoy a stay at One Hotel Brooklyn Bridge, which is pictured here. It's a waterfront retreat that is a really special hotel in Manhattan. Also nearby is the New York Marriott at the Brooklyn Bridge, which is a very short trip away from downtown Brooklyn. Obviously, wanting to get outside these days, you can tour some of Brooklyn's best known destinations and get some exercise with Fit Tours NYC, who's offering private excursions, including a Brooklyn Bridge fun run, which would take you on a run across, one of New York City's most recognizable landmarks and down into Brooklyn Bridge Park. Another alternative is Brooklyn Bike Tours that run tours that allow you to visit pizza parlors, dessert spots, and some historic brownstones. Okay, very quick trip over to Manhattan, probably the borough that everyone is most familiar with. Manhattan's home to over 1.6 million people. It's the backdrop for some of the most popular television and movie productions. So from movies like Breakfast at Tiffany's to TV shows like Friends and Seinfeld. And some Manhattanites are Alicia Keys, Lady Gaga, Robert Downey Jr., and the late Andy Warhol. So let's hear a quick Manhattan story with Casa Magazine.
My name is Muhammad Ahmed. I'm on the Casa magazine since 1994.
My name is Happy, and I run the Instagram account for Casa Magazines. Every time you come here, there's somebody beside you who's so interesting, somebody who actually works in the magazine. Like the photographers, the writers, this is their local newsstand.
Now, after this COVID, business is very bad. It's very hard to survive nowadays.
I decided to post about La Bonbonnier's GoFundMe, and that just like blew up the fundraising for them overnight. So because of their GoFundMe, we created our GoFundMe, and the synergy really helped the both of them. We built this community of like 15,000, and we just have to keep helping. So we started posting about everybody else's fundraising efforts. Everybody comes together and helps each other out. That's the spirit of New York.
Definitely is the spirit of New York. And so we'll start off in Manhattan, in the newest neighborhood of Manhattan on the west side. It's an elevated neighborhood, Hudson Yards, built over existing train rail yards. The most noticeable piece of Hudson Yards so far has been the climbable public art piece, the Vessel, and as well as the highest outdoor observation deck in the Western Hemisphere, Edge, both of which reopened in September. So it's good to have them back. And if you're looking for a fitness-focused hotel stay, everybody's looking to stay a little healthy now, you can spend the weekend at the Equinox Hotel, Hudson Yards, with complimentary access to their 60,000 square foot flagship Equinox Fitness Club. Okay. And then we'll take a stroll over to Central Park. Central Park, one of the great things to see right now is the just unveiled Women's Rights Pioneers Monument. The statue is on Central Park's Literary Walk near 70th Street, and it's the first in the park to depict historical female figures Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, and Sojourner Truth. They're three New Yorkers who fought for women's rights, civil rights, and numerous other causes. Also in the park is the Met Fifth Avenue that has recently reopened, as well as hotels, the J.W. Marriott Essex House or the Park Lane Hotel. Sorry about that. So one of the big features of New York City is the High Line. People really enjoy visiting the High Line. One of the great things off of the High Line is the Whitney Museum of America Art. They're offering some really great shows right now, including Vida Americana, which is the Mexican muralist remaking American art, focusing on the years of 1925 to 1945. Also, the High Line itself pictured here. You can get free time tickets to the High Line, but they are limited and you should reserve them in advance. That's always a popular destination in New York. And while you're on the High Line, you can stop for a taste of Mediterranean food at Nemo's Shish Kebab. That's a great place off the High Line, or stay at the High Line Hotel, which is a mid-1800s masterpiece and a federal historic landmark with a great cocktail garden on their first floor. The Empire State Building has reopened with their new renovations, and they are also asking for you to take advantage of their time ticketing to ensure social distancing policies. The 9/11 Memorial Museum remains a moving tribute to those lost in the World Trade Center attacks, and the Memorial's Plaza's twin pools, which are pictured here, offer graceful contemplative spaces for reflection. And then, of course, in Lower Manhattan, you can stop by and grab some grub, some burgers and fries, or take a small group tour from Experience First NYC Tours. And we'll take our trip over to Queens very quickly. Queens is home to over 2.2 million residents, so with over 70 neighborhoods. They're home to the New York Mets at Citi Field, or you can even watch tennis played at the US Open. Foodies really love Queens for the Greek cuisine of Astoria and the authentic Asian food in Flushing. And some notable celebrities that are from Queens are rappers 50 Cent and LL Cool J, and singer-songwriters Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. We'll move on over to another story about New Yorkers, this time going to New York City's oldest bar, Near's Tavern.
My name is Loyson Gordon. I'm the owner of historic Near's Tavern, one of the oldest bars in New York City, and probably one of the oldest ones in the country. Goodfellas was filmed right here in this bar. Queens is where I first landed when I came from the island of Jamaica. And when I saw that one of the most oldest historic bars was gonna close and it's located in my new neighborhood, I said, I have to do something.
I am fortunate to have the type of people in the Woodhaven community that exist today. These are people that believe in the values of being a community member, of taking action. We tested over 200 people for the antibodies. We tested 91 people for cardiovascular health issues right in front of Near's Tavern while we were shut down. This is what it means to be resilient, and this is what it means to be all in.
And he's absolutely right. That is exactly what it means to be all in. So we'll take a step over into Queens, starting out with the West Side Tennis Club. The West Side Tennis Club was actually the place where the U.S. Open got its inaugural tournament and was held annually. Now you'd have to be a member to play, but you can always go and take a picture of the Tudor-style clubhouse or the enormous main stadium. Also, Forest Park itself is known for its very high hills, the views of the Atlantic Ocean and the Long Island Sound, and it has a great golf course. And if you want to venture a little outside of the park, you can also go to New York City's oldest ice cream parlor, Eddie's Sweet Shop. Long Island City is a very up-and-coming neighborhood in New York City. Pictured here is Socrates Sculpture Park. It's an open studio and exhibition space for artists and a neighborhood park. It was once just an abandoned landfill, but the ground now holds amazing installations and a great place to have a picnic when the weather's right. Currently on display is Monuments Now. It's a timely series of pieces that highlights the underrepresented histories of people in the Americas. Exploring some more of Long Island City, you'll find a neighborhood dotted with turn-of-the-century industrial buildings that have been transformed into galleries, museums, and studios. You can take in some really great views from Gantry Plaza State Park on the East River. Some notable places to eat here are Maella, Sweetleaf, BB's, or M. Wells Steakhouse. And you can stay at such hotels such as the Wyndham Garden, Long Island City, or the Borough Hotel, New York. That's B-O-R-O, Borough Hotel, New York. Flushing Meadows Corona Park. Flushing Meadows Corona Park was a site for 2 World's Fairs in New York City. It's full of green space, fascinating relics, and even has a few museums. Lots of the indoor spaces haven't reopened yet, but at least one attraction has. That's the Queens Museum. That's home to bison, tiny deer, and giant rabbits. Similar to the other attractions, they're asking for you to reserve your ticket in advance. Also, behind the Queens, the New York Hall of Science is the Queens Drive-In. The movies on schedule include Hollywood Classics and International Art House Fair. You can view the sunset and the Science Hall's famous rockets. A portion of every ticket sale will be donated to Elm Corps, which is a local nonprofit organization that provides support for the communities in Queens hit hardest by the pandemic. And one of Queens' newest additions, the TWA Hotel. It's located in the JetBlue terminal at JFK International Airport in Jamaica, Queens. It is a destination entirely unto itself. There's period music, games, museums, exhibits, and retro decor. Let the visitors step back to the 1960s, where this was first designed as the TWA Flight Center. And an infinity pool overlooks the JFK runway. The pool bar and the observation deck are open along with the pool. So definitely an interesting one-of-a-kind hotel to stay at in Queens. Now with our last stop, our 5th borough, Staten Island. Staten Island is home to nearly 500,000 residents, has many, many museums, architectural landmarks, beaches, and parkland, including the city's largest forest reserve, which I hiked at least a bit of about 2 weeks ago and got mine and my friends' families lost for about 2.5 hours. So that was a great way to spend an afternoon. At least we thought so. And some major films such as Goodfellas and A Beautiful Mind have been filmed in Staten Island. And if you're a fan of the popular television show Impractical Jokers, all of those comedians are from Staten Island. And we'll take one last view at an all-in NYC portrait, this time of Snug Harbor.
My name is Puyan Taglianetti. I'm the Visitor Services and Education Coordinator here at Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanical Garden. Our program stopped and we closed our buildings, but our grounds and our outdoor gardens have been open this entire time. It's a place of complete peace and serenity. So many people tell us that they come to escape the daily stress. I get to come here on my off hours and enjoy it as a patron and not as an employee. Being here in the North Shore, a number of businesses that we regularly had frequented, a lot of these restaurants have parking lots that they've been able to convert to outdoor dining spaces. You have a renewed appreciation for those things that you might have taken for granted before. I mean, community is not just your geographical location, but it's those bonds that you have with your neighbor. To me, like, that's community.
Absolutely. New York City is all about community. And so pictured here is the Staten Island Ferry, probably the best value in New York City. It is a free ferry from Manhattan's Whitehall Ferry Terminal to St. George, Staten Island. It's about a 25-minute trip where you can enjoy exceptional views of the Statue of Liberty and Lower Manhattan. So we invite you not just to take the ferry and get off and turn back around, but actually, take a walk because just 3 minutes away from the ferry terminal is the National Lighthouse Museum, which we opened on August 26th. And educates visitors about the history and technology of the nation's lighthouses. A couple steps in the other direction, and you can catch up on some shopping at New York City's only outlet shopping destination, Empire Outlets. So it's all outdoors and has some indoor shopping as well, and has views of Lower Manhattan with some grab and go food and beverage options at the outlets, including Shake Shack, Starbucks, and Haagen-Dazs. Fun fact, Shake Shack and Haagen-Dazs were both originated in New York City. You can head south from the ferry and St. George to reach Flagship Brewery, which serves up cold brews, this delicious looking one in the photo here, street side in their craft garden. And from the ferry, you can also take a long walk over to explore the grounds of Snug Harbor. It's a garden-filled retreat on the waterfront. And each summer week on Wellness Wednesdays on the South Meadow, it features a farm fresh produce, meditation workshops, and music. And the Staten Island Museum, which is on the grounds of Snug Harbor, marks the centennial of the 19th Amendment of the Women of the Nation Arise, Staten Islanders in the fight for women's rights to vote. The exhibition is running outdoors, showcasing the stories of local suffragists who work to effect change on a national level. And after spending all day at the Staten Island Museum in Snug Harbor, you can spend the night at the borough's Hilton Garden Inn, which is open for weekend reservations. And just one last reminder of the New York City neighborhood getaways. Please go to nycgo.com and check from a list of many offers from our hotels, attractions, museums, et cetera, restaurants. There's so many options to choose from. And you do, if you are a MasterCard user, you do have that credit back. So please take a look at that. And thank you very much for joining us and listen to our presentation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that come up now.
Okay, terrific, Michael. Thank you so much for doing that. There's so much to do in here in New York City. I mean, so much to do in New York City and the 5 boroughs. I mean, you could spend a lifetime, I think, visiting there. So a lot of choices for all of our participants today. Laura, any questions that we've got for the chat for Michael?
For
John. I'm sorry. How rude of me. That was not nice.
Oh, John, we do have some questions for you. We appreciate your insight already, but some questions have come up. One of the interesting questions is, with COVID, Macy's Day Parade. I have heard they're going to be doing something virtual. I've heard all sorts of rumors. Can you maybe set us straight on what's going to happen? Are we going to be able to still come down and watch it?
They have moved to a virtual only program from this year, from what I understand.
Okay. Does that mean that, like New York, do you have any idea of how that's going to function, even if we're in Rochester and we want to watch it? Do we know what's going to happen?
No details have been leaked to me just yet. I'm not that important yet.
Above your pay grade. All right.
Exactly.
All right. No problem. We also had another question about Broadway and the reopening, when we can bring the actors back and see it flourish again. What might you be able to tell us about the current situation?
Yeah, and I think what you said is exactly important. We want to make sure that we bring the actors and the shows back, but we want to make sure that we do it safely for the actors, for the workers, and for the audiences as well. And so unfortunately, the Broadway League has made the decision to push the start back to at least May. It had previously been set for January, and it's now May, as they continue to look really through every resource that they can possibly find to bring everything back safely.
Okay, we maybe have to turn to broadcasting them on YouTube, not YouTube, but all the Netflix and things. They'll have to tape them and bring them on to the rest of the world. Maybe we'll all get a chance to see some of these shows.
And it was so much fun to watch Hamilton, but yeah, there's nothing,
Yeah.
but nothing replaces a true in-person Broadway experience. So
Absolutely.
we're really ready to have that back sooner than later.
I hope so. We're looking forward to it. Kelly, have you got a couple questions that you saw come up there?
Actually, I do have a couple, but first I had somebody step up and say that they were very disappointed that the West Side Tennis Club has to be a member now to play there, because they said they played there a few times and they went to the city in the past without being a member. But it's not a question. They just wanted to note that fact. I also played there many times when I lived in Manhattan before. But anyways, the question I have is, do you offer a do as the locals tour? Like when you hop on and hop off the subway, you visit restaurants, bars, and landmarks. Do you have something like that in your portfolio?
Yeah, I think the best thing to take advantage of right now is the NYC neighborhood getaways that we talked about. These were designed with locals in mind. These are the things that we advise that locals do, and these itineraries that that I talked about exist on our website. And you can actually follow these itineraries pretty detailed along lines of what we're advocating. But the New York City neighborhood, the NYC neighborhood getaways is the best thing at this point, because they're giving you great financial incentives to go visit right now.
Oh, that's perfect.
John, what's the website for folks to go to?
Our website is nycgo.com.
nycgo.com, and there they can see the itineraries you highlighted, probably a lot more, and they can really get detailed information, mix and match, and really get an idea of exactly what what a local might want to see, and really get the flavor of the place.
Absolutely.
Great. Kelly, sorry.
Also, somebody else asked, are there still plenty of taxis and Uber and Lyft services available during the pandemic, or have they pretty much shut down a lot of their services?
No, I know they've had their challenges as well, but there are definitely a number of taxis. I've been in all 5 boroughs since the pandemic started, and I have yet to walk down the street and not see a cab or a taxi waiting to pick me up.
Wonderful. That's great news, because it's too hard for people to get on the subways if they don't know the systems, to travel the boroughs. So it's much better for them to ride in taxis when they're visitors in the city, I think.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
How about the World Trade Center, John? With everything going on, it's going to, it still attracts, and we still get lots of questions here. We have a lot of people who want to come down and tour it. Are they still running on the basis that you need to buy tickets and go in advance? Anything you can give us for that, for an update?
Sure. When you say the World Trade Center, are you referencing
the museum and memorial site?
The 9/11 Museum and Memorial. Okay, great.
Yes.
So yeah, no, they absolutely are running, and they are asking that you book in advance and have those time tickets ahead of time. It does help save the wait. It does help social distancing, and it's just one less contact point.
Okay.
Is there a minimum age for entry?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, that had come through. We're up in Rochester, and I know you get snow in Manhattan, but certainly not as much as we do sometimes. So one of the participants asked if there are pools in the hotels in New York City.
Not as a rule, but several, including the Equinox Hotel that we did see during the presentation, several do have indoor and outdoor pools.
So you need to look around for that. Terrific. And we've heard that a lot of the hotels have either shut down or have reduced the number of rooms they've got. What kind of things could we expect for those folks that are going to spend several days in the city?
I would expect a rich inventory of hotels at this point. I think we're talking about a much different world than we were talking about in May and June, and even in August and September. Every week I'm getting an email that a new hotel partner is reopening, a new hotel member is reopening. And I'd say this is across all price points and categories. We have everything from a very basic hotel to a luxury hotels that have reopened. So I think that people coming into the city right now can probably take advantage of this time to stay at a hotel, maybe one that's a little nicer than they would have stayed at previously, with some of the pricing in their favor at this time.
So John, thank you for everything you've shared with us. This has been terrific. I wanted to give you one moment before you signed off to highlight a little more about the offers that are taking place. I know you've mentioned them a couple of times. We know about the MasterCard offer. On your website, are there other special promotional offers people should be aware of, or a place they should go to find out what promotions are that they might be interested in?
That's correct. As soon as you go to our website, nycgo.com, the first thing you'll see is our neighborhood getaways. Now that is part of it's not separate from the MasterCard initiative. It's by booking these offers, these incentives for our museums, restaurants, hotels, attractions, where you will get a discount off, whether it's 5% off here, or buy one get one free here, 20% off there. You purchase your tickets, and that's how you get your credit with MasterCard if you're a MasterCard user. If not, you just get the basic incentive from the offer that you're choosing, and there are some very good offers. So I highly encourage you to take a look at them.
So I'm hearing you say that for those of us that have never been to New York City in the surrounding area, or those that have been there and want to go again, there has probably never been a better time to go visit than right now, certainly from a financial aspect.
Yeah, if you are someone who can visit New York City, and obviously residents of New York State would be people who can visit New York City. That there are many exceptions on the state level and other countries. But if you can make it to New York City right now, it is one of the best times ever to visit, especially from that financial standpoint. And most things are open now. We do have, the Empire State Building we talked about. There are several museums. All of our world-class museums are open. I was just at the Met 2 or 3 days ago. So you can definitely get, you can't get Broadway, but there's a lot else. There's a lot of other things that you can see in the city right now.
Great. John, thank you very much.